So imagine this, a brand new, powerful international body led by none other than Donald Trump with a mission to solve the world's most difficult conflicts. And this isn't some what-if scenario. On February 19th, 2026, the Board of Peace officially launched. Its very first target? Gaza. So the big question is, what exactly is this new organization, and could it actually work?
That's Donald Trump himself, speaking at the board's inauguration. You gotta admit, that's a pretty bold statement. It sets a really high bar for what this new group is trying to do. So let's dig into the details. What is this Board of Peace, and what's its game plan for succeeding where so many others have, well, failed?
All right, first up, a new Board of Peace. Let's just break down the fundamentals of what we're talking about here.
So the Board of Peace is a totally new international institution. It's actually headquartered in Washington, in the building that used to be the U.S. Institute of Peace. It's been renamed for this. The stated goal is to jump into global conflicts, and they're starting with the huge challenge of bringing some kind of stability to Gaza.
Okay, Section 2. The pledges, both money and troops. An ambitious goal like this, it needs serious resources. So let's follow the money and the people to see who's really backing this new board.
Right out of the gate, President Trump announced a massive opening pledge. The United States is putting in $10 billion to get this whole thing off the ground. Now, that is a huge amount of money, but it turns out they're not the only ones writing checks. On top of that $10 billion from the U.S., other countries have stepped up and collectively committed over $6.5 billion more. And what's really fascinating is who is putting up this money. We're talking major regional players like Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. Each one of them promised at least $1 billion.
And this chart really puts the financial scale into perspective, doesn't it? While the U.S. is definitely the biggest single donor, that combined international support is substantial. It shows there's some serious buy-in from key players in the region, which you have to think is going to be absolutely crucial for a mission in the Middle East.
But it's not just about the cash. The board is also putting together an international stabilization force, and they're aiming for about 20,000 troops. Now get this, the biggest commitment by far is from Indonesia, pledging 8,000 troops. That's almost half the target right there. And in what is a genuinely historic move, Morocco became the first Arab nation to pledge personnel, offering up police and officers. You've also got others like Albania, Kazakhstan, and Kosovo contributing to the force as well.
So, Section 3, the mission for Gaza. We've seen the money, we've seen the troop pledges, so what is the actual plan on the ground? What are they going to do?
Well, the strategy, as they've laid it out, has two pretty clear phases. Step 1 was to get a ceasefire in place, and that actually happened back in October, negotiated with help from Qatar and Egypt. Step 2, well, that's the much tougher part, the complete disarmament of Hamas.
Of course, the board's plan is only one piece of this puzzle. Israel has its own non-negotiable conditions for any long-term success. Their foreign minister, Gideon Sa'ar, made it clear that besides just disarming Hamas, there has to be what he called a fundamental de-radicalization process inside Gaza. Without that, from their perspective, sustainable peace just isn't possible.
All right, Section 4, power, control, and structure. Because beyond the mission itself, the way this board is set up is a massive part of the story. It really all boils down to one question: who's actually calling the shots here?
And the power dynamics here are, let's just say they're unique. First, the veto power over every single board decision, that's held by one person, and one person only, Donald Trump. Second, he can stay on as the head of the board even after he's no longer president. And finally, if a country wants a permanent seat at the table, it'll cost them $1 billion. This structure concentrates an incredible amount of control in a way we've really never seen in an international body.
Which brings us to our final section: ambition or peacemaking. As you can probably guess, a brand new institution with this much centralized power has kicked up a lot of debate. So let's look at the global reactions, which are basically a mix of deep skepticism and cautious hope. So on the critical side, you've got people like Bruce Jones from the Brookings Institution. And he does not pull any punches. He calls the board a confused mix of ambition and narcissism. For critics like him, one of the biggest worries is how this new body is going to interact with, or maybe even undermine, long-standing institutions like the United Nations. But then, there's a completely different take. Edi Rama, the Prime Minister of Albania, he actually offers a strong defense. He waves off the concerns that the board is trying to replace the UN. Instead, he says he hopes it will shake that agonizing giant and, God willing, wake it up. So from his point of view, it's not a replacement for the old way of doing things, but maybe a much-needed jolt to get things moving.
And so that leaves us with this central question, the one that really matters. Is this Board of Peace a revolutionary new model for solving global conflicts, one that might actually succeed where others have stalled out? Or is it something else entirely, a new tool designed to project personal and national power onto the world stage? Honestly, the answer to that question could end up reshaping global politics as we know it.